Hi, I'm Dana Newman, and I'm a graduate student at Morningside. I'm also a second grade teacher at Kingsley Elementary. The title of my study is Effects of the Leader in Me program on Student Behavior in Paramount Schools. The problem statement is, since there are changes in today's workforce, there also needs to be changes in how schools prepare students. And this is based on teaching them the 21st century learning skills, which includes critical thinking, communication, collaboration, and creativity. Muscat and Gifford, 1994, as cited in Sharp, 1996, state that students who do not develop these skills have problems as adults. This would include drug addiction, unemployment, and need for state aid. Also, researchers at MetLife, they surveyed high school teachers, high school parents, and business administrators to find that career readiness skills are needing to be the major focus in schools. Why do I feel passionate about this program? Is because I want to see if this program decreases negative behaviors and increases student use of positive leadership habits, because it's being implemented in my district and my school. Also, the 7 habits of this program align really well with the 21st century skills just discussed. So the habits are: be proactive, begin with the end in mind, put first things first, think win-win, seek first to understand, then be understood, synergize, and sharpen the saw. When looking at past research with school programs, Sharp survey of 1996, he wanted to teach pro-social behaviors in 6 of his gym classes. So he was trying to help students learn how to problem solve, work together, and be more confident. And so he recorded and coded these behavior patterns. He saw that not only did individual classrooms increase their pro-social behaviors, but he could also see a trend across grade levels. This study, it did track negative behavior, but the positive results were the only ones that were reported. So I wanted to do Leader in Me to show both sides. Also, another school program, PBIS, Positive Behavioral Interventions and Supports, 2014 elementary case study. So just a little bit on PBIS. Tier 1 is 80% of students. They're taught expectations, those skills are reinforced, and students are provided with incentives. If students do not show appropriate behaviors, then they go to Tier 2. Students are grouped by their behaviors and given interventions. And then Tier 3 is when students receive individual interventions and plans to help them be successful. So with this case study, it started with a counselor. She trained teachers, and they decided to start in 4th grade because this was a grade of need. And what they found out is with doing the Tier 1 supports, 67 students' mean score increased from 17.97 to 19.32 in 7 months. This was a slight increase, and so they also looked at how students used the expectations in other areas of the school, and they were using them very positively. And they also use this information to see what students needed to have a Tier 2 intervention as well. Background of Leader in Me. This program was developed in 2009. How it happened was Principal Summers, she was trying to figure out what the problem was in her school, why it was failing. So she surveyed the community and found out that leadership skills needed to be more focused on so students could be better prepared for the future. So a program developer named Franklin Covey created the Leader in Me program, and it basically infuses the 21st century skills and the 7 habits. This program provides lessons and common language for teachers to use with students, and then it helps students find their strengths as leaders. The goal of the researcher: this study was conducted to determine whether the Leader in Me program would decrease negative student behaviors and increase positive student behaviors. The independent variable was Leader in Me, and dependent variable was student behavior. Why did I want to do this particular study? Is because most of leadership studies were dated. Most of them were studies that were far from the schools in question. that I wanted to use. Most information was on positive behaviors and not much on negative, and then there were minimal scholarly research that was done on Leader in Me since it's a newer program. The purpose of the study was to provide more data for schools in this district to make decisions about the program and create buy-in at my own school. With the research design, it's a quasi-experimental study. So basically there's information collected pre-program and then post-program. Also, there's no control or experimental group. Basically, there are 2 schools and their participants implement and complete the program, and then the study starts after that point. So with these schools, there's 511 participants at Jefferson, 509 at Peter, and this was 97% female. These participants were teachers, support staff, lead teachers, and principals. Ethnicity groups were Asian, African American, Hispanic, Native American. Caucasian was the biggest group, and that had 80% or higher at both schools. Also, students were in grades K through 5. They had varying SES levels. 44% at Jefferson and 55% at Peter received free or reduced lunches. And the schools in the study had to complete the Leader in Me program, which consisted of 4 years of professional development and training, and then also using the curriculum with students. With the materials, before implementation, the teachers had to use habit books, posters, and plans to complete the program. Then during the study, student referral data was collected, and it was collected on Infinite Campus, which is a program used across the district. And this would help ensure that no data was skewed by the researcher. Over here is what a referral looks like. So it has the location, the behavior, and why the behavior occurred. Also, another measure was a survey. It was created at surveymonkey.com by the researcher. Because it was completed by the researcher and is not a research-based assessment, it is not considered a valid or reliable measure. The survey questions based on the 7 leadership habits. There are 7 pre and 7 post, and a Likert scale was used, 1 being never, all the way up to 5 being always. The procedure: the study was conducted after schools had completed the program, so October through December of 2016. Referral data was collected from both schools on Infinite Campus, then analyzed on Tableau. That's a program that can group information and show it visually. Surveys were sent out to staff, and staff was to give input individually. Looking at data analysis, means of referrals were compared for schools and by group, so that was gender, ethnicity, and major type. Survey percentages were tabulated using the Likert scale, and then related habit questions were compared. Dependent sample t-test was also conducted to see if the hypothesis was supported. So if we look at the results now, Jefferson before, the mean was 68, standard deviation 71.10. After, the mean was 48, standard deviation 51.58. P-value was 0.001. At Peter, before, the mean was 54.82, standard deviation 61.26. After, the mean dropped to 36.06, standard deviation of 38.97. That produced a p-value of 0.005. Because both values were less than 0.001, this was a strong support of the hypothesis. Looking at the results, the decrease in referrals, Jefferson 289 to 204, and Peter was 233 to 151. Looking at other categories with gender, if you look at the p-value for females and males group, they were both not significant to support the hypothesis. The females group was a very small sample size, and the male group was just a little bit larger, so that's why the male p-value was a little bit less and a little bit more significant. Also, ethnicity, if you take a look, white or Caucasian group, the mean before implementation, 76.5, after was 60, and 16.5 was the mean difference. So that was a bigger group, had a bigger impact. Other and Pacific Islander, their mean differences were both 5. This was also because they were smaller groups, so their referrals had the least amount of decrease. The p-values are both 0.010, so this shows a significant support for the hypothesis. Other categories, so the type of behavior is the last one. Physical aggression is one that we should look at. So 66.5 was the mean before, 43 after, and 23.5 was the mean difference. You can see again that both p-values are very low, supporting the hypothesis. So basically all of the referral data except for gender had a strong significance to support the hypothesis of referrals being decreased. If you look at the Leader in Me survey as the other measure in this survey, study, the data was shown in percentages. Indicators for frequently and always were combined to show a positive correlation from before to after the program was implemented. So if you take a look at Habit 6, how do students work together? Participants said that 34% of students frequently or always work together before the program and 74% after. Also, the most significant increase was 58% with Habit 2, and that was goal setting. So 7% before implementation and 65% of students were showing it after. Least significant increase was 5%, and that was with Habit 5, which was listening. So 25% of students showing it before and 30% after using those indicators. Linked to past research, so conducting the Leader in Me study, it supported the idea that teaching student leadership skills would also provide them with skills to use now and in the future. With Vygotsky's theory, it talked a lot about how students learn in collaboration, and that is also a big habit with synergy with Leader in Me, so those two really work together. Other past research that encourages these skills, Scarf and Malasey's 2009 study said that pro-social behaviors would lead to better self-perception and increased leadership skills. And then Sharp said with direct instruction, pro-social skills could be increased. Implications: how does this study affect students, parents, and teachers? If students are shown decreases in referrals and increases in habit use in a student-friendly way with visuals, they could celebrate this and feel motivated by what they've done so far. Parents, if they're shown results, this could be used to support how this program is making a difference with their children. And then through word of mouth, they might be able to receive more PTO funding for the program. Teachers, they have a stronger fidelity if they know it is impacting other schools in the district. So they'd be more likely to use the Leader in Me program if they saw that it was impactful. Limitations in future research. So one limitation is school staff discussion of survey. So a researcher or Leader in Me member could oversee the survey. Additional practices during the program. So if they're using anything else to increase or decrease behaviors, schools would need to disclose their methods, or similar schools need to be scouted out for that study. Regulation of program and referral procedures that can't always be looked over and made sure of, so pre-work may need to be done to make sure that that doesn't happen. The survey was not valid or reliable, so you need to use a research-based measure. With future research, limited research on Leader in Me is shown, so you need to conduct it in a variety of settings. Needs to be implemented not only in elementary schools, but also middle schools. And then how can we track these skills in high school? Both positive and negative behaviors would need to be tracked using research-based methods. So if the school doesn't track referrals, what other ways could negative behaviors be tracked? And does this program also promote academic success? What research shows this? And then these are the references for this study. Thank you.